As Indiana football prepares for a tough road test against Michigan State this weekend, we've got some health updates on starting quarterback Kurtis Rourke.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen each and every day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Well, thank you so much for being here and truly making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. Shout out to all my everydayers. You know who you are. I see you, I hear you, and I really do appreciate you. So lots to get to on the show today. Mike Woodson made comments on Indiana basketball as they get the coaches show started back up. He does that every week. He talked about the exhibition versus Tennessee. Also gave some insight on some of the players and their performances so far as the season approaches. Plus, Indiana football still being overlooked, still being disrespected, still being underrated. But I know why. And we're going to talk about that later in the show as well. But first, we've got to start with the fact that we have some health updates on Indiana football starting quarterback Kurtis Rourke. We know he did not play a week ago, right? He was injured in the Washington or in the game before that. He did not play in the Washington game. Taven Jackson got the start. Kurtis Rourke injured that thumb, underwent thumb surgery. And so everybody was starting to question, okay, well, how serious is this? And when does he come back? When does Kurtis Rourke get back on the football field? And I don't think that was any disrespect to Taven Jackson. Even before we saw his performance this past weekend, I think it was just hey, Rourke is playing at an extremely high level, like starting to become Heisman conversation level. And that's not something you want to lose in the middle of what is, as of right now, going down as one of the best seasons we've ever seen for Indiana football. And so everybody has been kind of sitting around waiting to hear what's going on. And we got an update yesterday from Pete Thamel, one of the big-time college football reporters. He says, sources, Indiana's quarterback Kurtis Rourke has continued to throw the past few days, and there's continued optimism he can play on Saturday against Michigan State. He's been dealing with a thumb injury and had surgery last week. IU's first full practice is on Tuesday, which is today. And so we're going to learn a lot about what Kurtis Rourke's status is, whether we get some information from practice. And we heard Curt Cignetti talk in his presser yesterday. He basically said the same thing, and he did not go very much deep into it. He said he's been throwing, he's getting better. We are going to lighten the load on him, and that's all I'm going to say. And that's all he said. And so while it's not all the information that we'd like, right? It's not everything that we're looking for. It's better than nothing. And at least it's optimistic, right? This very easily could have said, yeah, he's still aggravated by the thumb, hasn't been able to throw, can't grip the football, whatever. I mean, it could have been a number of things. But the fact is, and we knew this last week, was he's starting to throw the football, surgery went well, and everybody seems to be optimistic. That seems to be the word they're throwing around quite a bit here, which is fine by me, right? Fine by me. And I know there's a lot of you Indiana fans who are hopeful, optimistic, if you will, that Kurtis Rourke can play this weekend against Michigan State. That seems to be what people are thinking inside the program. And I think a lot of you outside the program are thinking that as well. And I totally understand, right? It's a road game. It's at Michigan State. No, they're not a great team. They just lost to Michigan, who's definitely not a good team. But it's still a road game in the Big Ten. It's something that you cannot take for granted. It's something you cannot overlook and undervalue, because any team can get you in this league. We know that. We've seen that around this conference so far this season. and you just want to have everybody at your disposal and give you the best chance to win. Totally understand. But I also have to look at the big picture here, and I hope that you can do that too. And I ask you the question, can Indiana beat Michigan State without Kurtis Rourke? Can you win this game? Can you go one more week without him, with Taven Jackson as your starter, and survive, and then have a fully healthy Kurtis Rourke for Michigan, Ohio State, and Purdue? There's a bye week in there too, remember? So that's kind of where I'm at, and I guarantee that's where this coaching staff is too. You're pondering right now, okay, do we bring back Kurtis Rourke, who may not be 100% healthy? Do we rush him back to give us a much higher chance to beat Michigan State? Or do we run with Taven Jackson, who did not have a bad game against Washington? He was 11 of 19, 124 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He kept it 6 times at 17 yards, and he also had a rushing score. So 2 touchdowns and 1 interception accounted for Taven Jackson. He had a fine game, and he won Indiana the ball game by turning around and handing the football off. He did his job to perfection almost. I mean, there's not much more you could have asked for from Taven Jackson. And that was a really stingy Washington defense, one that I just don't think we're going to see from Michigan State. And so, are we concerned that Taven Jackson can't perform on the road at Michigan State? Because you know what travels? Defense. But you also know what else travels? Running game. In college football, man, running the football, any level of football, really, running the ball travels no matter where you're playing. And that's what Indiana did against Washington. And I think you could do that again against Michigan State. So that's where we stand. Kurtis Rourke is getting healthier. He's throwing the football around. There's a good chance he plays on Saturday. But I think Indiana, and we have to figure out what's best for the program long term. Because the last thing you want is Kurtis Rourke to get into this football game and get hit and jack that thumb up again, and he be out for an extended period of time with Michigan, Ohio State, Purdue, possible Big Ten championship, and possible college football playoff all on the horizon. Can you survive a Michigan State game if Kurtis Rourke doesn't play? I think you can. I really do think you can do it. I think Taven Jackson's good enough. I think the running game is solid, and I think the defense is playing lights out right now. That's a great combination on the road. But we're going to learn a lot more as the week goes on. But reports are Kurtis Rourke is getting better. They're optimistic. He's throwing the football, and there's a high chance that he could play this weekend against Michigan State. Well, coming up on Locked On Hoosiers, speaking of football, we're going to stick on that side of things because, man, this team's still being overlooked. I mean, national media, as much fun as it is to talk about Indiana, when it comes down to ranking them, they just can't do it. They can't put them where they belong, and I think I know why. We'll talk about that coming up next on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Roy. Hey, Locked On Hoosiers fans, it's time to recognize the Roy Player of the Week. So far this season, we've pulled over $20,000 to support players on Roy. Micro deposits lead to massive change. With the Roy app, you can direct your support to the athletes you love, ensuring that all funds go to the specific player that you choose. Unlike collectives, you know exactly where your support is going, and you can even receive exclusive content like personal videos and updates after the season. The best part? It's risk-free. If the athlete transfers or doesn't deliver on the content, you get your money back. And this week, I know we had a debate on this. I'm going with D'Angelo Ponds. Yes, I just pitched in $100, and I'd love for you to join me. Even $10 makes a difference. Let's show D'Angelo Ponds some love because this young man had 2 interceptions and a touchdown on the pick 6 to get the game started. And that really jump-started everything for this Indiana team, for the fans, for the atmosphere. It was hard, man, because look, Ellison deserves it too. 123 yards and a touchdown. There ain't no doubt about it. But D'Angelo Pons with a pick six and one of the most acrobatic interceptions you're ever going to see. He is our Roy Player of the Week. So show him some love and keep him connected to our school. Remember, pay today, celebrate tomorrow. Your support sets your team up for success. Plus, don't miss out on Roy's exciting giveaway with 2 tickets to a game in November. Just download Roy, create an account, and enter the referral code LOCKED ON, and you're entered. Already on Roy? Any contribution to an athlete's campaign also gets you entered automatically. So, no purchase necessary, void where prohibited. Download Roy now and join the NIL game with no subscriptions and no fees. Roy, support the players and change the game. Welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Appreciate you being here and truly making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. For all my audio listeners, man, I really do appreciate all of you on any of your platforms. And for those of you that have been on audio for a long time, it really does mean a lot. So be sure that you are following us on those platforms and turning on those notifications so that way you never miss a new episode. You get them downloaded immediately and you can listen to them each and every day. And for those of you on the video side of things on YouTube, be sure you like the video. That shares it out with the algorithm so other people can find it. Also, comment down below your thoughts. Can Indiana survive without Kurtis Rourke, or does he have to play against Michigan State this weekend? I want to hear and see your comments down below. And then be sure, if you have not already, the best way you can help us out on YouTube is subscribe to the channel. We have eclipsed, that is, over 3,300 subscribers this week. So thank you so much for being a part of that, man. We're having a blast, and I hope that you're enjoying it as well. Just hit that subscribe button one time. It's quick, it's easy, and that makes you an everydayer as well. Well, speaking of Indiana football, we're going to zoom out a little bit because I told you yesterday on the show that Indiana is still number 13 in the AP poll. We're behind 2 teams that are tied at 11, which that's stupid. That's ridiculous. Tying is for soccer in Europe, and we don't do that. This is football. This is America. We don't tie, okay? Which we do in the NFL. Still stupid. Anyway, we should be higher than 13th in the AP poll. And I think that anybody that watches this team, if you ask them behind closed doors, if you ask them one-on-one and said, hey, I won't tell anybody, where would you really put Indiana football in the rankings? This is a top 10 team. How is this not a top 10 team in college football? And I was racking my brain yesterday. I'm thinking, man, why is it that we're stuck right here? Like, we've made slow climbs all year long, have not made the proper jumps, I think. And here we are 8-0. We were the first team to claim a bowl, or I guess claim a bowl invite or whatever the case. We got enough wins for a bowl game, right? We hit 6 wins first. Now we're 8-0. We're one of the very few teams that are 8-0. We are 8-0. You've got BYU is 8-0, and Oregon and Miami are all 8-0. All right? But we got teams ahead of us that have a loss already. And so I'm sitting back, right? And I'm drinking my coffee and I'm trying to figure out, why in the world are we not ranked higher? Why are they so hesitant to put Indiana where they belong? And then it hit me. It hit me like a ton of bricks. It's because they can't accept the fact that we are good in football. They're not used to it. They refuse to believe it. And you may say, Jacob, who's they? Everybody. Everybody that's not in this state that wears these colors, that supports this program, this athletic department, they refuse to believe it because they've never seen it like this before, and they don't want to accept it. I told you the other day, they don't want Indiana football to be good. I'll tell you, the Big Ten doesn't want us to be good. The ESPN College Football Playoff doesn't want us to be good. They don't want us to continue to win because we're going to rain on the parade of all the big brands, of all the big names. And let's be honest here. The College Football Playoff is a popularity. It's a beauty contest. That's what it is. It's not about getting the best teams in. It's not about giving the best teams the chance to win a national championship. It's what logos and brands are going to bring in the most money. It's plain and simple. It's not that difficult when you really think about it. And I believe, and I think you would too, man, if Indiana were to make a college football playoff, we're going to tune in and watch. We're going to go. We're going to do whatever we can to support this program. But the problem is we don't have the history of that, right? We don't have the longevity of success that some of these other major programs do. And so I think from an AP poll standpoint, these writers and journalists and people just don't, they refuse to believe it. They can't accept the fact that Indiana is good in football. And, oh, they haven't really played anybody. Well, we're undefeated and we've played everybody in front of us. What else you want us to do? What else are we supposed to do, right? We have Michigan State this weekend. You have Michigan next, and then Ohio State. And that's the chance to prove ourselves. And seeing how Ohio State played the other day, I think we got a good shot. And all we can do is play the teams in front of us. But a week from today, on Tuesday, we will have our first college football playoff rankings. And that's when it's going to start getting interesting here, because this is what's really going to show us and tell us how the playoff committee thinks. And there's still so much to be solved here, right? Out of all the major conferences, we got to get the champions settled, and then the 5 highest ranked conference champions get the first 5 seeds, and then everybody fills in behind them. Like it's going to get ugly. It's going to get ugly. And look, for those who said, oh yeah, a 12-team playoff, that'll just satisfy everybody. More people get in, more people are happy. Not necessarily. I think it's going to make even more people mad because of how the system works. And again, we rely on a bunch of people that sit behind closed doors and make these decisions and then don't have to defend it. And you can see where this is going. You can see where this is heading. And we're already talking about this as an 8-0 team. They don't want Indiana in the playoffs. I'm just telling you right now. I'm telling you, because the football brand doesn't bring in what the Miamis and the Alabamas and the Georgias and the Ohio States and all of these teams, right? The Clemsons, the Notre Dames, the Tennessees. We're not at that level historically. Like that's nothing new here, but they can't accept the fact that we're good right now. They can't wrap their brain around it. And that's sad. It's sad to see that the media is corrupt in that way. It's sad that the college football playoff has an agenda in mind to make the most money, which it's business. I get it, but that's not what college football is supposed to be about. But here we are. It's 2024, and that's what it's all about. So we're just going to continue to be disrespected, overlooked, undervalued. And you know what? It's fine. It's fine. All we can do is win the games. All we can do is beat the teams on our schedule. We've done that through 8 games. We have a chance to do it on the last 4. Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State, and Purdue. And then we play whoever they put in front of us. And we show the world that Indiana is for real. This is not a fluke. This is not a one-off situation. Curt Cignetti is the real deal. And this team is the real deal. Offensively, defensively, special teams, the fans, the support, the athletic department. This is legit. And I just hope we get a fair shake. I hope we get a fair shot because we deserve it. Through 8 games, we deserve it. They're not giving us the credit, but we're just going to put our head down and go to work. And I guarantee that's how Curt Cignetti feels. If you talk to him about rankings and things, he doesn't care. He doesn't want to talk about those things. That's what you and I get to do in the podcasting world. But Indiana's going to put their foot down, and they're just going to keep playing ball, man. They're going to keep doing what they do and take out teams week and week and week again. And I'm excited to be here for the last ride, for the final few games, and see what we can do and make a serious, serious push for a postseason berth. Well, coming up in our final segment on Locked On Hoosiers, Mike Woodson started his weekly radio show once again. He made a lot of interesting comments about Indiana's exhibition win over Tennessee, plus some notes on some of the players on their performances throughout the summer and in that exhibition and the season opener right around the corner. We'll break it all down in our final segment on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. NFL, MLB, right? Have you jumped on the Dodgers yet? Up 3-0. Thought this was supposed to be the greatest series ever. And it's 3-0. Dodgers are on the brink of a sweep of the Yankees, which I love to see. But so when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can be on FanDuel. You can check out the latest stats, view play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Had Monday Night Football last night. Got Thursday Night Football coming up. So just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Final segment on Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you again for being here, and shout out to all of my everydayers. You are the ones that make this show go, and I've told you this, but October is about to go down as the best month in the show's history, and you are the reason. So thank you so much for that, and man, just having a blast on Locked On Hoosiers, a daily podcast on your Indiana Hoosiers, free to you, video, audio, whatever, however you take it in. Just thank you so much for your support. And if you're looking for a couple of other shows here really quickly, go check out some shows on our Locked On Podcast Network. Locked On College Basketball, Locked On College Football, and Locked On Big Ten. Those shows will get you through the workday, man. I'm telling you, everybody on those shows does a fantastic job. They cover a lot of Indiana football and basketball. So be sure that you go and check all of those shows out and tell them that Jacob from Locked On Hoosiers sent you. Well, let's talk a little basketball for a second because Mike Woodson started his radio show back up this week, and the season is just over a week away, right? And Mike Woodson had some interesting comments that I wanted to highlight really quickly, talking about the exhibition win over Tennessee, talking about some of the players individually, some health updates as well. So some interesting things that I wanted to highlight in here. And so he started out talking about the exhibition right against Tennessee, and says he was hesitant to take this exhibition versus the Vols because he had gotten wind that Rick Barnes wanted to play. Woodson was hesitant, and then over the summer he finally agreed to it, which I'll be honest, I don't love hearing that. I don't love hearing that he was, let's just be real, scared to play Tennessee. I don't like that. Tennessee should be scared to play Indiana. I mean, let's just be real here. Tennessee should be scared to play us. We shouldn't be scared to play them, especially how the game played out and the result that became of it. We beat them on their home floor. Yes, it's an exhibition, I know. But I don't like to hear that we were hesitant to take this game. Says their defense was really good, speaking of Tennessee, but Indiana responded really well with defense as well. He also goes in, and this is one here that I wanted to highlight. Talks about the 10 turnovers in the first half for Indiana, but we cut that down to just 3 in the second half. And that's got to be something we do all season long, is limit the turnovers, man. Think about last year and all of just the lazy passes we had, not even the bad passes, just lazy passes where we would try to throw it up the floor and it would get picked off, or we'd try to feed it inside and it just was a lob or a lazy bounce pass and it just got stolen away. And then teams would run on us, we wouldn't get back, and boom, it's an easy 2 points. And then we're down again, right? That can't happen this year. And I feel that it won't, just because we do have better, more effective, smarter guards. I mean, it's just a fact of the matter. And so 10 in the first half, not cool. First 4 possessions of the game, they were turnovers. That's not cool. But you cut that down to just 3 in a 20-minute span. That is winning basketball, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you what. He talks about Malik Reneau, Myles Rice, Cannon Carlisle. He did talk about the 3-point shooting and says that he doesn't have any worries about it right now. He says he doesn't expect Luke Goody to go 0 for 5, doesn't expect the team to go that bad. Okay, Woody. I mean, we'll see, right? We're basing this off of one exhibition game. That's about all we have to go off of. So we'll believe you for now, but it's got to be fixed. There's no doubt about that. Does give some health updates on Jakai Newton. Says that he is still trying to get consistently healthy. He says when he's out there, he's super effective and he's scary good. He just can't stay physically ready day after day after day. He said, so if he does get in, he's going to be a big piece of the puzzle, is how Mike Woodson broke this down. Comments on Myles Rice. He says, quote, he's a good young man that's willing to accept coaching. That position is a tough spot because everyone's crying for the ball offensively. They want the ball. He can distribute it to enough to keep everyone happy and still score on his own. And he did say this, which is interesting. He said he's used to being the guy where he can go out and get you 20 or 25, which he did in the exhibition. I'm trying to teach him to be more than just that guy. I'm trying to teach him to be team too. And I get that. I do. I understand where he's coming from. But Woody, if Myles Rice wants to go out and drop 25 points, let's let Myles Rice go out and drop 25 points, because there's going to be a game where we need him to drop 25 points. Let's just be real. But he has to get his teammates involved at the same time. So I understand where Mike Woodson's coming from. We cannot limit Myles Rice. If he wants to go, let him go, because he's just that talented. He talks about Carlisle and Gabe Cupps and Malik Reneau, saying that he's in the best shape of his life. And he doubles down on that, saying he's extremely proud of him. And then says on the play, right, on how the offense is going to look, he has a quote and says, there's going to be nights where teams really force you to play small. And you're either going to have Ballo and 4 small guys, or you're going to have Malik and 4 smalls, or Hatton and 4 smalls. And he says, in every scrimmage that we've charted, we've shot the 3 ball extremely well. And, you know, these smaller lineups are going to be interesting to see because, yeah, if they force you to go small, honestly, I say play Malik and then go really small. Go guard heavy if you can. Go with your Trey Galloway, Myles Rice, Cannon Carlisle. Play all 3 of them at the same time. See what happens. I don't know. We're going to have to see how all of this goes. And that's what's going to be cool, though, this year is since we have enough players that I think can legitimately contribute to this basketball team, I think we have the flexibility to show different lineups. And, man, it could be December and you see a set of 5 for the first time. It could be January before you see a certain 5 on the floor at the same time. And it could be the first time. And you know what? That's okay. That's okay. That keeps teams guessing. And you know what? In a 4 or 5 minute span, experiment a little bit. Your non-conference schedule's weak. So test it out. Try it out. Try different sets. Try different starting 5s. Try different rotations of guys and different sets and different subs. Like, you have the flexibility this year, if you're Mike Woodson, to do that based off your schedule and based off of the amount of players that I think you can get involved on this team. So overall, good comments from Mike Woodson. We tend to do this every single week, break down what he has to say, kind of react to that and give our thoughts as well. And man, I'm so excited. Basketball season, you can taste it. You can feel it. We are not wishing away football season, but basketball season for Indiana is here, and I just can't wait. And I'm having a lot of fun covering both of these sports for you every single day right here on Locked On Hoosiers, and that's going to do it for today's episode. Again, all of my audio listeners, be sure you subscribe on your platform. Turn on your notifications. I don't want you missing new episodes, okay? So be sure you are notified on your platform. And then, for all my YouTube watchers, like the video, comment down below your thoughts on Mike Woodson's comments after the exhibition as we get closer to the start of the Indiana basketball season. And then be sure you subscribe to the channel. We're back tomorrow, Hoosier fans. So until then, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.